Don't hesitate, don't waste time, because prices are not going to go back down once they start creeping up. And remember, the biggest risk during an inflationary environment are the ongoing costs and bills that you're not in control of. So point number 3 is hi everyone, it's Mumbai here. With the cost of living having gone through the roof, with petrol going up, groceries going up, energy doubling in price, all bills going up, we are in what is considered a 1 in 30-year event, which is the cost of living just skyrocketing through the roof. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing a few tips of ways that you could set yourself up to be in a better position financially for what could be a much worse situation to come in terms of the cost of living and bills and all the things that happen in a highly inflationary environment. The current environment we find ourselves in today has been influenced by so many things, not in the least a lot of quantitative easing, that is the printing of money that has happened during the COVID pandemic. Governments had to support a lot of people during this crisis, and to fund that they needed to print money, which of course has some inflationary results. But this isn't isolated. It's also things like in the UK we've had a skills shortage, so a lot of labor, people quitting their jobs, even in the States, people quitting their jobs and moving on, and there being demand for a lot of employees and not actually being able to fill those posts with people. And in addition to that, the crisis in terms of energy supply, there's a global squeeze at the moment in terms of energy. So that has had a squeeze on the cost of living for everybody, because of course energy is the foundation for every other bit of economic activity. And when energy is expensive, everything else starts to creep up in price as people try and maintain their profits. And to top it off, supply chain issues, procuring products, goods and services has been particularly challenging, and all of these things combined have led to some particular circumstances that have started to create an inflationary environment, which all of us have been feeling. So what can we actually do about it? First thing you want to consider is to fix absolutely every bill and cost that you possibly can. If you can pay annually for your bills, pay annually. If it's biannually, pay for your bills biannually. Any cost that you have right now that is on a monthly basis is a high risk, because of course as costs start to go up, the things that you're paying for monthly, you might not necessarily be in control of how those prices tend to go up. And so if you can afford it, it is going to save you tremendously. In this particular circumstance, monthly payments are your enemy, because of course if it isn't contracted to a fixed amount, whoever you are paying your bills to have the power to increase the prices to absorb the inflation, and you as the end user customer might have to foot that bill. So any cost that you can fix from the get-go, whether it's for your business, if you are buying goods and services, think about maybe stocking in bulk. If you are, procuring for your company, think about, fixing the costs of things that you're going to be procuring for the long term. If you are doing it just for yourself in your household, think about any bills that you can afford to pay off in one go for the year to control that monthly spend. That would be a big step towards helping you cushion yourself for the blow that could potentially be to come. Another thing to consider is if you are someone who rents, try and make sure that you are within a fixed contract. If you are on a monthly rolling contract with your landlord, see if you can negotiate to actually renew an annual contract with your landlord and fix what your rentals will be per month. This will just enable you to be able to anticipate what your costs are going to be in the coming months, and not then be surprised when your landlord writes you a letter to say the bills are going up, because obviously things are going up for everyone. And so that's the first thing to consider. Fix any cost that you can fix. Just go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and if you can fix it, do it. You are helping your future self. If you're finding this useful, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks. The second thing you need to consider is stock up and store. Okay, so if you are someone who has storage space in your house, if you're someone who's signed up to a grocery store like Costco, or any place where you can buy things that are non-perishable or things that can last a long time in bulk, this is something you definitely need to be considering doing. I couldn't do this in the place that I lived in before because I just did not have the storage space for it. But now that we've moved, we have a little bit more space, and this is something I'm absolutely going to be doing. Any non-perishables, I'm going to be buying in bulk. And if you were one of those crazy hoarders at the start of the pandemic who was loading up on tissue paper, I guess you're having the last laugh, because right now having extra supplies is probably a great thing as prices start to go up. And this is the same for anyone who, even if you run a business, if you've got inventory, you're going to sell, don't hesitate, don't waste time in delaying actually purchasing more inventory if you have the space for it, because prices are not going to go back down once they start creeping up. That is the, big conundrum with inflation. It goes up, and it's, even if it goes up really quickly, there's a thought that maybe it will go back down and settle down. Things are not going to go back down. Once it's gone up, that's it. So anything that you can secure and store at the lower price is certainly worth it, okay? Third thing to consider, and remember, the biggest risk during an inflationary environment are the ongoing costs and bills that you're not in control of. So point number 3 is controlling the costs within your home. So, if you can install solar, if you can afford to do that, absolutely do it, and if you can do it on a really low interest rate loan, that would be amazing. And I'll talk about that in point number 4. Solar, energy saving light bulbs, draft exclusion strips, draft exclusion curtains, using your energy at non-peak periods. All of these little things can make a huge difference. I've done a video on things that you could potentially do to save energy in your home, and I'll put a link in the description if you want to watch that. Okay, turn off your screen now if you're someone who does not want to hear about debt, because you will hate this point. If you are looking to actually hedge yourself against inflation, one of the things that you could consider is actually acquiring low cost fixed loans. So loans that, are for a fixed amount, let's say 3%, for a long period, let's say 20 years or 10 years or 5 years, whatever that fixed period is. And this is things cash flow assets. So assets that actually bring in cash. And that could be anything from property to vending machines. There are several things that you could potentially consider actually getting into, actually investing in, that will actually bring you cash flow, and cash flow that you can actually control the amount that you actually get in line with inflation. So in essence, debt is always reduced. Your debt becomes less and less in an inflationary environment, because if you imagine your debt is 3% and inflation is 5%, over the course of time, your debt is going to naturally just be reducing. And if that is at a fixed rate, not variable, fixed rates, it's always going to be 3% up until the end of the term of the loan. You are going to be better off by the end of it. Now, you have to be extremely careful with this. You need to know exactly what you're going to invest that money into, and you need to make sure that that cash flow is going to come in to allow you to cover your debt payments. You never, ever, ever want to find yourself in a position where you do not have the cash to cover the minimum monthly payments. And in a worst case scenario, you end up having to, pay the interest on a loan that you didn't actually use the money for anything useful. So, in a way, if anything should go horribly bad, at least you've got an extra 10K in your account, to help you bide the time. But that is not what I encourage. I am only talking about getting money to actually invest in cash flowing assets. So those are the things for you to consider in terms of preparing for an inflationary environment. If you have any other ideas, feel free to post them in the comments below. Let's all help each other out through what is potentially going to be quite a difficult period for a lot of people. So I might do a couple more videos on this topic as I go through more ideas and more ways that I think it could potentially help people prepare themselves for what might be a challenging next couple of years. That's it for me today. Hope you found this video useful, and I shall see you on my next video.